Peace and love, y'all. All right, I don't know how to turn this thing around. There go D. What's up, D? My DD. All right. All right, you guys. See, I got the hoodie on. Got that hoodie on. It's hoodie season. You get your hoodies. All right. 210 in the building. Golden Bay. Asheo. Yeah, coming in on this live. Man, let me get a little bit of music going on right quick. Yeah, give me a second, y'all. It's my first time going live on a YouTube. It's showing up backwards. Let me know if it's backwards to you. Is it backwards, or can y'all see this backwards, or y'all seeing it front way? Trying to see how I could change that up. Let me see. Is that it? Oh no, that's the DI's effect. I don't know how to do that. It's good. It's going the right way. I'm just asking that so when we go up to the board, everything will look right. I'm gonna start doing some YouTubes. I'm gonna start going live on these YouTubes, y'all. Everything good. All right. Yeah, see by Rudy. Go across the whole thing. Yeah. Yeah, so now we're going into the fourth phase of the moon magic. For everybody that's been keeping up with the moon magic, we're going in the fourth phase. Y'all go ahead and tap the screen for me. Let me grab a speaker. Bluetooth speaker. That plugs in there. Let's get this. Trying to get the speaker going, y'all. Building it while we flying it. Building while we flying. Man, I need a charger. All right, that's a little speaker popping off. Damn, YouTube is a little bit different. And I gotta keep in mind. All right. Okay. Put the mic on. All right, now what we was talking about. And moon magic. Y'all see what happened with the moon magic? See how them crows came out? See how them crows started popping up out of here? The weather changed. That's letting you know that we're doing it on a collective level. If the crow went across the full landscape like that, that in itself is letting you know that you want to go. That these intentions that you're seeding into the proverbial universal soil is having an impact on your reality. They don't want you to know this. You see how they shut down the TikTok? the day of the crow, they shut the TikTok down. I couldn't retrieve my live. I couldn't replay it. And that's not by coincidence. This stuff is not happening by coincidence. It's like, yo, yeah, you are that on the mic that they paying attention to you in that way and showing you that, yo, you a threat. You a threat against transgression, degression, and depression, right? And you adding the pressure against all of the forces that have been feeding on you all this time, looking to keep you restricted, looking to keep you in a form of restraint. And that shit gotta go. It's your time.
People who forget names seconds after hearing them, it's not ADHD, it's an untrained brain. Here is the brutal.
Hold on. Yeah, yes, Apex it's been sold off. The TikTok has been sold off to another company. I want to say it's called Bitnet or something like that. Bitnet Co. They own 18%. Another invested 80% is owned by Donald Trump and the conglomerate of APEC individuals that he rolled with, primarily Michael Ellison, who was the owner of what is that shit called? It shit just it slipped my mind. Oracle. He owns Oracle, right? So they had a little shift over, and they just so happened to do this on the day of the third phase of the moon magic, which we call the crows, the scarecrow phase. And the scarecrow phase is when your distractors and your detractors make themselves prevalent and present. And what they're there to do is to negate you from focusing and concentrating on the intentions that you seeded into the new moon, right? they could have pulled that deal off anytime. And listen, you know it ain't gonna work all the way for them, because if it was, they would have did it on a new moon. They wouldn't have did it during the third phase of the moon. So that in itself, they're compromising their strategic positions to nullify the freedom of speech that you're supposed to have in this country, right? It's a hypocrisy, as Malcolm X once said. It's a hypocritical system. And it's his hypocritical system telling you one thing and it's doing another. And that's the same thing with the politicians that are petitioning for your votes. They're telling you one thing and they're doing something else. That's just the way of this country. And whether you're aware of it or not, it doesn't even matter because you already tied into the corporate matrix. Yeah, but it's been sold off. It's been sold off. Thing keep going in and out. Hold on. Hopefully that'll stay. All right. Yeah, so it's been sold off. And they just put a pause in the calls because they knew people was gonna start talking about that weather. And, all right, get off of there. They knew that people was gonna start talking about that weather, and they knew that they would be unveiled. And like I told you guys, I think I was on the TikTok. I came on a live, but I couldn't. They wouldn't let me replay the live, right? But it's the ionosphere. That's what that heart machine is shooting at. It's shooting at the ionosphere. And they're attempting to put a coating of those fake clouds that were you on last night. No, I didn't go on last night. I didn't go on last night. I only did that one live. You know, that was more than enough. And I was positioning myself to come on here for the day. I'm gonna start coming on YouTube more. If you guys will share the live in the tech space and let the people know that we on here and that we live. I would humbly appreciate that. Let's see, I'm trying to get this right for the replay. Yeah, so that's what they don't want people to know is about that weather machine. And they're attempting to weaponize the weather and get the people at the pharmacies, get those codes going, and to throw off your endocrine system, throw off your circadian rhythm, throw off your natural biorhythm. Because cold weather is not natural. That's not a natural occurrence. Right? And that's something the cabal has put in place years ago. And the reason why they put these things in place is to stop prosperity from flourishing amongst the populace of the planet. So what they did was they taken the water and they froze the water. The water has been frozen. All that stuff, though, people keep talking about the ice wall. I don't know why they be going in on the ice wall so tough, but the whole glacier population of ice, someone froze that water. It was the Aldebarans. These beings came here and froze that water. And they needed to freeze the water to stop the flow of currency. So you see in certain countries where they have famine and they're not eating and nothing ain't growing. It's throwing off the ecosystem, right? And the barometric pressure is being distorted from the climates in these particular areas. And it's throwing off the geological biorhythm of the planet. So things that used to grow at a particular time, they stop growing. You know, they also distort things by preserving endangered species, things that's on the endangered species list. They look to preserve those things. And the beings that's doing that are on the endangered species list. And they know it. That's why they start building androids and robots. And it ain't to replace you, beloved. It's to replace them. Because they can't reproduce at the rapid rate that you're capable of doing. You feel me? I stick my sword in one of their women, and that baby gonna come out a nigga. Period. I stick it into that Filipino woman, it's gonna do the same thing. I do that into that Mexican person, a woman, it's gonna do the same thing, right? They know this, but they don't have that ability. That's why they look to decrease your birth rate. And outside of decreasing your birth rate, they get you to hate yourself, right? They do all type of things psychologically to block you from accessing your own divinity. Because when you're laying seeds and you're vibrating and functioning in your divinity, you're not going to do nothing but produce divine children that have the ability, listen, to vibrate at 432, because that is the hertz frequency that you need to be vibrating on in order to materialize in this reality. Hence the word C man. C man. Middle C. The middle C is the middle tone of Om. Om is the vibration of creation. So you are meant to be creative. You are meant to be moving on a gamma wave, not an alpha wave, a gamma wave. And the gamma wave takes you into a creative mind state. You follow? So they don't need you on an alpha wave. They need you on a beta wave. That's reactionary, right? They need you to be reactive. And whether you're aware of it or not, you're processing things emotionally before you process things logically or practically. This is why I always lead with practicality. And let's look at the rationale. Let's not get so emotionally caught up in things. You know, I don't look to motivate people or get you all revved up like a reverend does, right? I'm not here to rev you up or to gas you up. I want you to pay attention to your present and look at things in a rational, logical way, right? Don't pour your emotion into it. Because once you start to put emotion into it, that energy becomes in motion and it starts to leave you. And you start to want to chase that emotion. You want to start to chase that feeling. You start to want to be how it was 5 minutes ago. And that'll stop you from being present. You have to allow, that's the fourth gate in radiology. Allowing for it to present or for it to present an allowance for you. So once you got that allowance, you gain your allowance by what you allow. And through allowing, you receive your allowance, right? Had to be even keel. Shouts out to Ice-T. I was watching Ice-T's podcast last night, right? And Ice-T was saying, yo, man, they was like, how did you stay so long on the SVU? You're not that great of an actor. That's what the dude was telling him. He was like, well, the one thing that he did was he didn't get too excited and he didn't get too low. He stayed even, right? You don't want to overact. And the Society of Thespians, that's something that they tell all of the actors and actresses. You don't want to overact. You want to be right in the middle. Everything has to be right in the middle, right? And this is how we naturally are. And with the Dajjal, the Luciferians, and the Illuminati and all of its other subsidiary cohorts, what they seek to do to you is to keep you off that middle. They want you to go below the middle, right? They want you on a lower frequency, the frequency of acceptance. And they don't want you to accept yourself. They want you to look outside of yourself and seek to accept what you externally peering through your senses see and accept that before you accept yourself, right? And then they don't want you to question it either. Because if you question these things, then they're going to have to make you understand why or, bring the things that they're not telling you about to the surface and get you to understand why they're doing the things. Because after one question comes a second question, after a second question comes a third. And anyone that can't stand up to the question, it's 9 times out of 10, they're guilty as hell. They can't stand up to the questioning. That's why the police look to interrogate people prior to them having representation, right? Because they want to get all the questions out that they want to ask you so that they could attempt to use that against you. But what you don't realize is that you have that same ability and you can start asking questions and not just the police. I'm just saying in general, interrogate people that attempt to get you to accept something that has not proven itself. And this is something that we was talking about yesterday on a TikTok, and that's making a viable connection, right? Making a viable connection. And if you can't make it a viable connection, what are you really doing, right? It's asking me to ask you guys, what would you rather live in, the city or the countryside? I don't know why it's doing it. Yeah, get that shit off the screen. Yeah, we ain't worried about that. I'm not trying to play YouTube with this thing. But yeah, it's all about the real connections. What connection are you definitively making? Not speculatively. Because many people are making speculative connections. And the so-called conscious community is operating on a belief system. This is why the Rudy paradigm is put in place so that we can stop operating in belief, start operating in fact and operating in truth. Because far too often, people will hear me. I'm just using myself as an example. They'll hear what I'm saying and just start to believe what I'm saying instead of investigating what I'm saying and applying what it is that I'm saying herein. So when you're dealing with raynology, which is the degree from which I teach from, RE in the raynology, we take that and turn it into an acronym, and that's result based, effort based, right? You want results, you got to put in effort. You're going to have to apply yourself. You cannot not apply yourself and expect for an effort to present itself. It's just not going to work that way. You might want it to work that way, but that don't necessarily mean that that's what's going to pop off for you. So you definitely want to get on the right track and start applying yourself. Knowledge applied becomes wisdom personified, right? You said that came up on this side too. What came up, D? Yeah, shouts out to everybody in the room that then came in. I'm trying to figure out what you mean. Okay, I ain't even see all of these people. Yeah. Peace and love. Peace and love, Keith. Yeah, so as you guys know, because many of you guys, especially my AAA people, y'all know about making that real connection. We have to be real with ourselves and we have to be real with our senses. And when we take this practical approach, a lot of this stuff gets recorded into the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind begins to store the data of your experiences. So when you're doing practical, rational things, it's easier for you to access that than to access something speculative. And that's why a lot of people have to find it difficult in order to capitulate what it is that they may be experiencing off world. You're putting too much attention and focus into cerebral zones that are not validated in this reality. I'm not saying that those things, I said, came up. I'm not saying that those things are not capable of happening. I'm just saying that that's not a good place to start from, right? And far too often, people want to go off into the stars and the quasars, but you signed up to come through your daddy and enter into your mama. You signed up for this shit. Stop looking for a way to escape it. Because that's a part of the program too, is to find an escapism, looking for an escape goat. And they want you to look for an escape goat because that goat is Baphomet, right? Anything that's dealing with goats, kids, pandemic, panda, right? Anywhere where you see that pan means to go back and forth, pan from left to right. That also ties us into Janus. And you know that Janus deals with a face going to the left and the face going to the right, and no one is present in the center, right? So these are the type of spells and incantations and alchemical attacks that are being weaponized against your own awareness and being stored into the subconscious vault or memory bank. And as you start to go into your memory and pull up the things that you experience, whether that be the thoughts, words, or the actions, it's always going to have that tarnish, cursing of that grimoire on it. You're going to emit a spell, right? And now everybody spellbound. That's why they call it days of the week. They leave you dazed and leave you weak. It's to leave the week days, right? And by the weekend, you have become weakened, right? And every day that you get up, dazed and confused, you start mourning. You're greeting people with mourning. You're greeting people with hail, right? These are very simple, but yet effective incantations. But if practiced and pronounced over time, it begins to crystallize. And I told you guys, that's how the crystals work. The crystals work with the aspects of you that you have crystallized into your consciousness. So you have to start breaking down the proverbial pillar, right? That has crystallized into your consciousness that has been working against you, and start tapping into the aspects of yourself that have the ability to break and shatter that proverbial uncut stone that has cogulated out of the things that we have accepted as reality that have a whole bunch of grimoire on it, right? One of the main things I see is just with Christmas, how everything is not about the actual day of Christmas. They make it leading up to Christmas. Because the day after Christmas, none of that shit matter no more. You follow? Some people still got their Christmas tree up. They still got their lights on and the lights is blinking. And the power companies raised up the power bill 20% on your ass because they know that people gonna be putting them lights out there, right? And they making money off of you, and you not receiving a reward for putting up Christmas lights. You're not receiving a reward for putting up that Christmas tree. Only person that's losing is you. I don't even give a damn if you got the money to do it. Guess what? You still giving that shit your energy. You could be giving that energy to you, but you don't even know what you're giving it to. When I was young, it used to be about the birth of Jesus, right? As I turned 18, it started to become about Santa Claus. It wasn't about baby Jesus no more. By the time I turned 18, it was all about Santa Claus. And now here I am, some odd 25 years later, and it ain't even about Santa Claus no more. It's about the gifts itself. And they didn't remove Santa Claus out the equation and told you, yeah, man, fuck all the Santa Claus, fuck baby Jesus. Just get a person a gift. You know, who gonna receive the best gifts? You know, who did you pull to give a gift? And it's like, damn, how did it go from baby Jesus to pulling gifts? And I thought this was about the children. You see more adults and more enamored about that shit than you see the children being about it. And if you're being honest with yourself, after 4 or 5 bouts of Christmases for your child, you ain't got nowhere to put that shit. Let's be honest. It's like, yo, why do we keep doing these things? We're not questioning as to why. We just accept it, right? And that mental energy that you're extricating or depositing into these particular channels, Janus is benefiting from it, Krampus, Bacchus, right? Bacchus is the god of celebration, drunkenness, and theater. These are beings that are benefiting from you projecting your energy into these so-called holidays. But when you look at the word holly days, look at that. The Hollywood, right? And not talking about Hollywood, California, but the Hollywood from the holly tree is used to make the wine that Merlin
originally cast his spells from the book of Grimoire onto the Canaanites, right? And he did that on behalf of Sargon I in the Akkadian records, who's known in your Bible as Nimrod. He was the ruler over these beings. And he the one that raised them up and cultivated them in their consciousness to worship him. And he used to worship Kingu and Tiamat. Tiamat was the mother wife of her son, Kingu. That's why I tell you all about saying the word Kingu. Kingu is a lunar being. He's a lunatic, right? A Luciferian. That's who stays on the moon, right? And they birthed an unborn child. She gave her son a child. And when she gave her son a child, the child was born a stillbirth. So they took the child and placed the child under an evergreen tree. When they placed this child up under the evergreen tree, it was symbolically, they said that it would live forever, right? And so when Nimrod had his untimely demise, they buried him under an evergreen tree as well. And that's where this particular tradition or custom comes from. It's Sumerian, right? It's Sumerian, going back to Samaria, not Saudi Arabia, not Babylon. Those are biblical terms and corporate terms. You know what I mean? And so that's what people are under the guise of. You're under the guise of Sumerian folklore, customs, and traditions that were handed down to these Amorites. And they turned the Hollywood into Holly days to leave you dazed and confused, right? And now you get these spells cast upon you. And going back into what I was saying before about the weather, because I've been telling you guys this for over a year now. They manipulated the seasons. It used to be winter, spring, summer, and fall. Now you got football season, basketball season, baseball season, college basketball season, college women college basketball season, women's NBA season, right? What we in now? Aquarius. They say it's Aquarius season. And all these different seasons, you invocating this outward, and it's changing the trajectory of the way that things occur in your reality, and it's recalibrating your reality, and it's attempting to fixate to what it is that you focus and you concentrating on. Because I tell you guys all the time, energy flows where your attention goes, and what you can focus and concentrate on, it will expand, good, bad, or indifferent. Thinking about something bad all the time, guess what? You expanding that shit. Stop thinking about that. Think about something positive. Think positive, right? Affirm that to yourself. Think positive. I'm thinking positive. I'm thinking positive. I'm thinking positive. I got positive thoughts, positive reinforcements, positive results. Always put positive in front of it, right? All of that gets stored in your subconscious mind. And as it starts to store in your subconscious mind, over time, it begins to crystallize. Now your vibration begins to shift, right? And now the way that you're processing things emotionally will be in a positive range of understanding. You'll get a positive outlook on the things instead of reacting to it negatively or even reacting at all. You still stay centered in that positive vibration, and things will make itself over for you. Okay, Jonas Green asked the question. Shouts out to Jonas. He says, if you have a tech piece on, can these forces still feed off your energy? Yes, they can, especially if you're giving it to them. That's how they feed off your energy. You're giving them your attention. So it don't matter if you got a tech on. It don't matter if you got Jesus Christ around your damn neck. If you're giving these motherfuckers your energy, they gonna take it. Stop giving them your energy. Channel that energy into another channel, another target, primarily one that will benefit you. This is why it's essential to have an altar or a shrine in your home. And when your vibration is centered, you could take that energy and project it to your dearly departed or your ancestors, right? It could go to them. And once that energy hit them, the aspects of them that's coursing through your veins, it also receives the residual effects of that energy. And that's not something that's propagated here in the Western world. But we need to start dialing back into those beings of which we come from. It's the most definitive connection that you can make without it being speculative. I'd rather be speculative about a sim, which is a sign, an indicator, or a message. That's an acronym that my mother may be sending me. I'd rather be speculative about that than to be speculative about something, some type of force or spook that I read about and I didn't actually experience in this reality. It's the most practical approach that you could take. Outside the range of that, exactly. You're welcome, beloved. Outside the range of putting your focus and your attention on your dearly departed, you want to put the focus on yourself, right? Put the focus on you. And once you start to do this consistently, you have to be consistent. You can't be off and on like you be with your church, right? The church, you be spotty with that shit. You only got to go there one day a week. You know, with Raynology, we saying do that shit every day. And if you're fighting your inner demons or your inner negative dialogue, or you're up against the resistance that your mind or your physical mind is putting up, then guess what? Go for 4 out of 7. Don't go 3 out of 7. Go 4 out of 7. Go 5 out of 7. Work your way up to 7 out of 7, right? And get you 7 days in a week of consistent practicing, of consistent meditations, of consistent invocations, consistent focus and concentration on the things that you want to materialize, not the things that you don't want. I watch people do that shit all the time, just in my own home, right? Just in my own network of people. They spend an abundant amount of time talking about the things that they don't want, or or what they don't want to happen. Even saying what you don't want to happen, that shit get magnified because you're putting too much focus and concentration into it. Let's focus and concentrate on the things that you do want, you know, and don't overwhelm yourself with things to do in the day. That's why I tell you about the 4 focal points, and the 5th focal point being your occupation. But when you get to your occupation, by that time, you should have cleared the tabs of the prior 4, right? Focus and concentrate on yourself. That'll align you with your higher self. Focus and concentrate on your dearly departed. For if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't be here. Owe them some ode of gratitude. Focus and concentrate on the sun, right? Because without the sun, you wouldn't be here. Focus and concentrate on the planet and the elements that are provided for you, right? All you got to do is give it 4.5 minutes every day. 4.5 to 5 minutes of each one of those. That's it. And then clear those tabs. Focus on your occupation. Focus on your task. And you'll get through your day a lot faster. You will accomplish your task a lot more efficiently if you're just focused and concentrated on one thing. But if when you're doing that thing and you constantly scrolling through your phone while you're doing it, and you taking phone calls and you're trying to multitask, you're not gonna get the same effect as the person that's just focused on one thing. It's going to have more of an impact because their energy isn't scattered all over the place, right? You want to laser beam focused on one thing, right? One thing at a time. Just like I told you guys with the moon magic. And I hope you guys been keeping up with the moon magic and doing your moon magic and being consistent with your intentions, keeping them at the frontal lobe of your consciousness. Always be thinking about them, even if you got to write it in your hand, right? Write it on a piece of paper. Write reminders everywhere. Set a reminder in your phone and develop a mantra with those intentions. Because over the course of time, your oversoul will recognize that you're taking that shit seriously, and it's going to pull the files from your memory bank and bring it into your awakened world of consciousness and present it to you. It's going to present that yellow brick road for you to follow, right? So that you can get to your harvest, which is the full moon. And all you have to do is be consistent. Yeah, crows is going to pop up. We just passed the crow phase. They turned They turned up the ionosphere, blocked it out, put a whole bunch of chemtrails up there to block out the sun's light because they mystified as to why, man, how come the planet isn't cold right now? It wasn't cold on the East Coast. They had to make it snow on y'all ass. Because, listen, all these people in the community that got them 13 key technology pyramids, even the ones that just got regular pyramids, man, y'all changing the ionosphere. You're making it recalibrate, and you're healing up the holes in the ozone layer. And because of that, the planet is starting to shift on its axis, because it was on a 23-degree axis. Now it's going to a 45-degree axis until it completely positions itself on a 90-degree axis. When it does that, you're going to have less nighttime. Less nighttime is going to happen. That's why they're attempting to manipulate time at the rate that they do. Daylight saving time, leap years, and all this other crap that they come up with in order to attempt to measure existence, which you cannot do, right? They don't even know what existence is. They don't have enough chakra points to present that to the world in the way that they're doing. And they know it. They had no divine connections. If they did, the world wouldn't be in the fucked up conditions that it is in, right? It wouldn't even be messed up this way. Why we got to talk about, human trafficking and all that stuff, and all of these ICE agents, and like, come on, man, all that shit is a distraction. I don't get that shit no time of day, right? I look forward to the little nice news stories, and I always catch like, man, let me see what the news talking about, and I always catch one of them little silly stories. The guy out there playing shovel ball or whatever they call that shit with the ice that's on the ground. I was like, yeah, now see, that's a nice story. I want to hear something like that. The family that went outside and they had snow and they went and bought a sled and prepared for it. Let me hear some story like that. I'd rather hear that than about who got gunned down and shot down. And they tell it to you like what you watching it gonna make some type of difference. It's not. You know what I mean? Yeah, you don't want stuff to happen bad to people, but why you want to propagate that when you're working for the catalyst that's causing these malefic events to pop off in the first place? You know what I mean? You got to have some discernment. And if you got the right discernment, then you won't allow that stuff to galvanize your attention. You won't allow it to siphon your focus and your concentration on the targets that you intended to put that energy into, right? In this great day and time called Noontide Ray. All right. Anybody got any questions? Any other questions? I don't know how the YouTube work. Tap the screen or whatever. Tap the heart. Excuse me. Tap the heart thing or whatever. All right. All right. I want to get some questions going. Hey, nobody got no questions for me. But that's what it's about, you guys, is making those definitive connections. Those connections have to be made. And once you make those connections, you get a sense of insurance. And once you got that sense of insurance, you'll become a lot more confident. You become a lot more confident about what you're capable of applying based on what you know, right? So based on what you know, not what you believe, not what you got faith in. But once you start tapping into your gnosis, right, your innate intuitive nature becomes online in the physical dimension. Now you're starting to work with the spiritual aspects of who you are, right? Start to work with the spiritual aspects, and they start to have a positive effect, right, on your well-being. And now you'll begin to start feeling well. Just being part, and I speak from experience. That's been one of my intentions. Stay positive, right? Stay positive, think positive. And I went to bed with that. And when I woke up this morning, it felt like I took 2 antihistamines last night. And I ain't took an antihistamine in 2 weeks. My body recalibrated itself to the vibration that I got from the last time I took those antihistamines because of the allergies that from the ragweed I was having. And my body recalibrated itself to that vibration, right? The neural map reference in my brain recalibrated itself to that actual time. And your body is highly intelligent. It's full of you. Your body is full of you. And when you aware yourself at that level, man, you can do just about anything that you want to do. It's just making up your mind, right? And realize that you master the mind. Do not allow your mind to master you. When you do this, you become a mastermind. And when you're capable of mastering the mind, then your spiritual heart can seat itself in your physical heart. And now your higher senses are online in this material landscape. You can use them to your benefit. You know, some people become corrupted by accessing their higher powers, and they use it to manipulate others. And then they start tapping into dark magic or black magic, i.e. the Baphomet, i.e. pentagrams and hexagrams, you know. Then they start petitioning to others about their dark practices. And unbeknownst to them, they're opening up portals into the lower ends of the spiritual universe where a lot of these parasitic entities thrive. And they only look to feed on your energy, right? They also look to bring chaos, confusion, and destruction into the material landscape. And a lot of these self-taught practitioners, and even ones that's been initiated into some shit, that's what they're doing. They're opening up portals to get what they want. After they get what they want, they got to let that demonic entity or force come through that portal that they opened up and allow them to do their chaos, their confusion, and their destruction, right? And we here to stop all of that and to have the discernment to see it taking place, you know, and it's working, you know, just because it ain't work overnight, you know, it's increments at a time. Increments begin to compound over time and coagulate into a copious event, a miraculous event, or a positive event that will have a positive impact on this reality. And that's why I'm always petitioning for you guys to align yourself with your dearly departed, right? That's the real connection. The sun. These are real connections. These are not speculative connections, right? Got to recalibrate the way that you're processing the external, the outformation that's being presented to you, right? And don't be afraid to question. I had a brother that came into my private message, and he said something in the vein of, you know, should I take a religious approach or a spiritual approach to EFI? And I told him to seek out a Babalao, not online, one in real time. And he said that he did. And I said, how come you didn't ask that Babalao that question? Why was you comfortable to come to me to tell me about something that you was doing with somebody else instead of just asking that person? Because that person would have got offended if he would have asked a question, right? That's a high probability that that was the case. But even if it wasn't the case, you got to question people, man. Don't just let them sell you something or tell you something and you accept it at face value. No, ask that inquisitive question. Don't let that person get away without asking them a question. You feel me? When a Jehovah Witness come knock on my door, they be like, oh shit, I got 7, 8 questions for their ass. And like, hey, I'll let you talk to me, but I gotta ask you some questions first. And every time they go get somebody else, and that person go get somebody else. And then that person says, well, I see that you're not interested in hearing the word of Jehovah. I said, I didn't say that. I just asked you some questions and you weren't capable of answering them. You were incompetent, and your Jehovah has made you incompetent. And you're not addressing the fact that you're incompetent to the questions that your convictions are attempting to present to me at my door, right? If your God or your Jehovah was so powerful, he wouldn't have to send your ass to the door. He'd come to the door on his own volition. Why you always got to send somebody? That in itself is speculative, right? You see that stuff going on in the conscious community. And I told you guys before, you know, condemning the Christians, right? Condemning the Hebrew Israelites and all these other people. If you haven't read that book, if you cannot decipher the truth within that book and what's hypocrisy and what's the inconsistent inconsistent wording, or the inconsistent, it's a C word I'm looking for, excuse me. The inconsistent damn it. I have a brain for it right now. The inconsistent hypocrisies, the fallacies, and the contradictions that appear in the scripture. You haven't went through the language and see where these words originated from. You're doing yourself a disservice when you attempt to condemn someone for being seated or grounded in their conviction. You feel me? Because I was really into the Bible. I was really into Jesus. I took that shit serious for the time that I was into it. The same thing with Islam. I took that shit very serious because I really wanted to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I really wanted to connect to God or Jehovah or Yahweh. I really wanted to make that connection. And the first thing that was told to me was like, no, you can't just make the connection yourself. You got to do it through Jesus. Jesus is the medium. And I'm like, well, damn, where do it say that shit at? And it don't say it nowhere. Because see, they didn't expect me to read that shit. I read the whole Bible in the summer. Then I read it again. Like, yo, I'm trying to figure out, where do it say that Jesus is the medium? Right? Where do it say that? Where does he say that? He tell you that he and his Father is one, and no one can get to the Father except by way of him, right? Now, you can't get there except for by way of him. What he was saying at that time, according to that scripture, that you can't get there in case you come to me. Ain't nobody else out here gonna show you how to do it. He was speaking for that time, but after that time was over, you know, it left somebody else to speak and say what he said, right? And say, no, he said that can't nobody get there except by way of him. He was saying they was taking that too literal, and it wasn't put in the literal context. It was meant for that time at when he exactly said it according to that scripture. And it's 2,000 years later. That shit ain't still standing. You hear me? It's just like coming to the 1089 seminar. Nobody can come to the seminar except by way of me, right? Now move that 100 years into the future. You have everybody attempting to come to a seminar that already came and passed and taking what was said then out of context then. You follow? So that's what's going on scriptural wise, and also was not always highlighted and accented is the fact that all of this stuff is attaching itself, is annexing itself to the Happy Now Valley. Why is it annexing itself to the Happy Now Valley? Why? Because it doesn't have any proof. Everything becomes speculative if they don't have a verifiable location to attach their stories around. because they wasn't even there for the records that they plagiarized from. And I clearly point this out in the Paruti paradigm, right? It's clearly pointed out in 6 or 7 different ways. The inconsistencies, the contradictions, the hypocrisies that's put forth through this religious doctrine that they call Christianity, that was established in 55 AD by Dionysius Exiguus, right? He said, we're going to start time from when Jesus was born. And Jesus was born, according to their doctrine, 4 years prior to the time that they said time was going to start over. And they like playing with those timelines because it's all about the taxes. That's why they be playing with time, you guys. Let's tap that screen for me. We're going to go up on the board. Guess we take it up to the board early, get some more people up in the room. I don't know who in here from TikTok. But we going to go in. Pull this up a little bit. See, it's coming across backwards to me. All right. But y'all seeing that the right way? Let me know if y'all seeing that the right way. Grab my computer. Right. It's backwards. Man, I don't know how to make this thing turn around where it's not backwards. Then I won't be able to see you guys. Let's see here. I have to get creative. Sorry about Ruby. We're going to get creative with this thing. Yeah, so it's backwards. That's what I was asking y'all earlier. Was it backwards? So y'all seeing it backwards, right? Mother Edinburgh said hers is not backwards. Said she's seeing it the right way. Let me see. Follow what I'm saying? And this is what. Yeah, I'm not asking if you can see the picture. I'm talking about the words. Is it backwards? Is the words backwards? That's what I was asking about on my shirt. Was the shirt backwards? I'm sure you can see the picture. Let's see here. Yeah, see that shit backwards. Oh man. Hold on, you guys. Let's see here. Okay, now it's the right way. Now it's the right. All right. Said flip your camera in T. Yeah, I had to flip the camera. That's what I was asking earlier. Mother Edinburgh had me all backwards. Okay. So we know that y'all can see that. I gotta wait for the delay in order to get everything correct. All right. All right. Now we got any questions? Put your questions in the comment section if you guys have any questions. Any questions? Quest the ions. Quest the ions. Yeah, we're going intuitively off the question. I need somebody to ask that question for this YouTube live. All right. Yeah, are we using the moon as a medium to connect to solar energy during the moon magic? Yeah, I mean, you're doing that regardless, whether it's moon magic or not. Just you being able to see the moon is a confession that the sunlight is bearing its light on the moon. It could do that easily because the moon is a lot. Let's look at the distance of the moon. Let's look at the equilateral circumference of the moon. And let's see here. How large is the moon? We're going to see what the deities, use this raynology. The moon is 2,159 miles, right? In diameter or circumference. The Earth is 23,564 miles long, right? Now let's look at the sun. Okay, I see another question. Hold on a second, you guys. Let me get this up here. How many miles make up the sun? These are very relevant. Whoa. They say that the sun is approximately 864,000 miles long, right? That's more than 3 times the size of your planet. More than 3 times the size of your planet. So the moon is at least 12 times smaller than the planet. 12 times smaller than the planet is. So when the sunlight touches the moon, it can hit the moon easy. What's getting in the way of hitting the moon is the sun. I mean, our planet, right? That's what's really going on. So regardless, anytime that you see the moon, you only seeing it because of the sun's light. The moon does not emit its own light, right? And the energy from the sun is reflecting off of it. That's why I talk about the moon-based beings. Moon-based beings reflect your light, right? They worship a dead entity. That's a dead piece of the earth, right? Don't you know how you smash your fingernail into a window pane and then it bruise up and turn all black? Then you end up peeling it off. It don't have no life no more. It's not no longer attached to you. And that's what happened with the moon when it got separated from the planet. Right? And we're gonna go through the raynology of this too. Don't think we're just gonna walk away and not get on do the math, right? And for the next question, shouts out to Tasha. She says, so what are the steps to take when coming out of religion? Again, you have to go through the Old Testament. You got to go through the New Testament. You're going to have to go through the Greek words, the Latin words, look at the timelines. You know, this is why I show you guys on the school page, when you go and do your due diligence, you have to be very thorough, right? You're proving to yourself that you really want to know, right? And I was a devout Christian. It only took me 3 or 4 years to go through that whole religion. So when I approach people, I got a brother that's a minister, right? Allegedly. And he know not to bring that stuff to me. I got a sister that be switching from conviction to convictions and denominations between denominations. And they know they can't hit me with that stuff. I know the Bible way better than they do. And I was a Christian a lot longer than they were before they even became a Christian, right? These people within my own family, but they respect my stance and my perspective on things. They know that I did my due diligence. And that goes for anybody. They're going to be hard pressed to come to you. And as I always say, when it comes to Christianity, you have to look at things from the degrees of Catholicism, not none of the denominations that comes after it. And that flies over a lot of people's heads a lot of times. And if you're not practicing Christianity based on papal law, right? The papal law was written in 394 AD by Theodosius. Well, he signed it in the law in 394 AD. He was the last emperor of Rome. After that, it wasn't no more emperors. It was all popes that was ruled, right? So when people talk about the Nicene Council of 325 AD, that's when they established the council, right? But it didn't become papal law until 394. And that's where the Pope had the final say-so on things. And most of your Baptist, Pentecostal, pork chop sucking ass pastors, they're not going to address that because they're not a part of the Catholic Church. And according to papal law, if you're not a part of the Catholic Church, you are an abomination. That is written in the law, right? That's written in the papal law, and that stood the test amongst Western Europeans until 1592, which brought forth the Supremacy Act signed into play by King Henry VIII. And he no longer listened to the Pope. And since then, it became a warrant on the throne of England, right? Because therein, short after, he established the Church of England, right? Which was a Protestant church. You had the ability to protest the papal law, right? As a Protestant. But that's where you begin. You had to demystify the mysticism of that particular religion, right? And do it for yourself. Don't do it so you can show somebody else. You got to do it for you. And once people see that, they be like, damn, I can't even knock that shit. You know what I'm saying? Can't knock it. Somebody told me once before, or they asked me, like, hey, how come you're not going to go to the church and get married? I said, for what? I already did all the things that was required according to your religious doctrine, not mine, because that's not, what am I going before? You going before God. You said that shit like that nigga took you to go get some Chick-fil-A this morning. You know what I mean? What it tell you? For richer or for poor, through sickness and health, till death do us part. You can thug that shit out. You don't need to, you just need to prove that to yourself. You don't need to prove that to nobody else. Right? I've been with my woman over 22 years. And the person that asked me that question hadn't been in a relationship longer than 22 months. So it's like, yo, is the way that I'm doing things working for me or the way that God told you to do things working for you? Right? And this is why a lot of so-called marriages end in divorces. It's because people don't have no definitive connection to the convictions that they're putting themselves into. So again, in order to go through Christianity, you got to go through the Bible. You got to read Genesis. You got to read Genesis 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way up to 25, I think, how many books in there. You got to read Exodus. You got to read Leviticus. You got to get an understanding of it, right? Do your research on the timelines. I always say that I'm the Lord of hosts. Amen. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. Right? I could stay right on that frequency, the Christ frequency with people, right? And rein them on in. But that's because I'm a teacher. I was taught to do that. But just for the average commoner and layman that's coming up out of Christianity, only reason you coming up out of it because you didn't thoroughly researched and did the investigation and you've seen the contradictions and the hypocrisies and you didn't abstracted them all out. You've applied what you've gotten for Christianity, and that's to make yourself a better person. That's all of the religions. And you can do that, but it don't take a full lifetime to do that, right? You can't be off and on and spotty because then you will carry that same lack of conviction over into, let's just say, rainology. You will start looking at rainology the same way that you was looking at religion because you didn't go through the full gauntlet of what it had to offer. You weren't thorough with that conviction. So if you wasn't thorough with that conviction, you're gonna be hard pressed to be that way with any damn thing. It's pretty much a litmus test for the self when you're dealing with rather monotheistic religion, which was all taken out of the land of Amen, right? Which was brought forth by Akhenaten, who was the Messiah of this time, to bring back the worship of one. And that was the sun, which is Re or Amen Re, right? That's why all those monotheistic religions say amen, because they're carrying on, for lack of a better word, the gospel of Amun, the hidden one. They don't want you to know this. All of your pastors, all of your reverends, your deacons, all of them are Masons. And when they walk into that lodge, they see a big ass ion. They see the IRA. They see that shit. And they lying to your ass and telling you that they don't, that's evil. That's wicked. Why are you telling the people that? That's a damn lie, right? But even though I'm telling you that right now, you got to do your own investigation and connect those dots. I just gave you enough reference points to do that. So that's what's necessary in order for the spellbinding effects that doctrine may have had on your psyche to be eradicated from your subconscious mind. But it's not just some blink of the eye type of shit. You got to thoroughly go through this stuff all the way to the point. In my early days, when I first got into Nuwabu, right, and was studying right knowledge, everybody in my neighborhood called me Reverend because I always held the Bible. And they used to be like, yo, how come you always got that Bible in your hand, but you don't believe in it? I said, well, I used to believe in it, but now I know it. And now that I know it, when people stop and question me, I can answer their questions. But they can't answer the questions that I asked them because they ain't even read the book. So I'm like, man, how can y'all condemn me for not being a Christian about something that y'all didn't even read in the first place, right? But I did it for myself because I used to be a Christian, and I let them know that too. And I still am in the blood of Christ, right? And I could follow all of those instructions, which they're pretty much the Nicene Creed. I could follow them to a T and make myself a better person with that. But that has a ceiling on it because it was abstracted from somewhere else, and they failed to give you or to cite the source that they got this from, if that makes any sense, right? I hope that answers your question. Next, the soul says, my family cremates. What effect does cremation have on the afterlife, if any? Well, what happens is that's good that you're doing that, because now their organs or their body isn't being used as an anchor to keep them attached to this dimension, right? Some people, y'all go ahead and put your organs up for donation. Stop doing that. That's anchoring you to this dimension. It's also creating a soulmate, a soul bind, right? And you're getting integrated into the matrix of that person's karmic debt, their karmic convictions. Now you done acquiesced yourself to somebody else, and you supposed to be long gone from here. Now your ass stuck here. You got to follow them around to work and home and into their bedroom and into the shitter and the shower because they walking around with your kidney in their body. You know what I mean? Not supposed to be buried with your organs anyway. They're supposed to be put in Coptic jars, which that's a whole nother science in itself that we won't go into. But the cremation is the best thing that you could do for that individual, because now they're not tethered to here, right? You could also take it and crystallize it into an actual stone or crystal. My cousins did that with their mother and father. I was like, yo, that was a great idea for them to do that, right? That way, they're not in these cemeteries. They're not anchored to these particular stations. They don't got crosses put over their grave. The second you put that cross over your grave, it's over for you. You got to realize you're dealing with witches and warlocks. A lot of people don't want to accept that, but that's what it is. And They've been casting spells for thousands of years. This ain't something that just started because we got the internet. The internet makes it more accessible for you to have knowledge about these things, right? And me, as a steward of Nuwabu and as a teacher under Raynology, my job is to bring forth clarity to the people so that they can know these type of things, right? But you did the right thing with the cremation. Yeah, I know it's appearing to me real late because I can't see my phone. I got the phone pointed the other way so that I could see the board the right way. It's kind of weird, but that's what's going on with it. Right? Let me check see what it's saying in real time. Is your altar work enough undone what is done by bearing? I don't know. You're gonna have to put that question another way. Because if they already, what's done is done. You gotta petition. You gotta make that petition to a being that has ranking in the spiritual dimension if you want that to be undone. But what they need to see is your dedication and the devotion to depositing energy into the dearly departed. You know, you gotta you gotta show something first. You gotta show that you're serious. Because whether you like it or not, humans are they're regarded as very untrustworthy individuals or beings, right? This species is not trusted by nobody. Right? Yeah, it can and it will be. It can and it will be. But you, as I aforementioned, you have to do, and I don't want to use the word work, but you have to put in the effort to make that happen, right? I give everyone the effective techniques through the discourse that will definitely allow your altar to register through certain planes of existence. It'll go like a beacon light, like they put out for the parties. Somebody throwing a big party, they got the big strobe light. Once you activate that altar under my instructions, you on the mic. I tell people that all the time. You on the mic now. Now you got to perform. Ain't that what you do when you get on the mic? You got to perform. And you can't not perform. You got to consistently perform. You can't be spotty with shit. Because the second you start getting spotty with it, you gain the attention of the trickster beings. You gain the attention of the distractors and the detractors. You gain the attention of the jinns and the walk-ins. And they start coming up with stratagems to expand that gap of time that you're putting in between your practicing, right? And you will look up and a whole year done pass and you ain't been to your altar, right? Your life is distraught. Everything is all over the place. And you wonder, where did the time go? And how come things are not working out for you, right? You up there trying to assist someone that you know that's buried and got a cross over their grave, right? You try to petition to a Nubu to help that being, and the Nubu be like, nigga, you barely pour a libation. You don't care about it. Why should I care about them more than you do? I'm not going to do that. You got to show him that, oh man, this person is dedicated and devoted. Your Akashic record starts to recalibrate itself. And those angelic beings that are stationed in the Akashic library to monitor your Akashic, they'll start to see the shift in the recalibration because it's an organic text. It doesn't die, right? And as that transcript starts to reconfigure itself, they'll be like, man, look, let's go look and see what this being is doing. He's doing something different. Besides rolling up a blunt, scratching his nuts, and playing the PlayStation. That ain't enough. You gotta really show some dedication and some devotion. And I tell you guys all the time, 1089 is the magic number. That's the only way that you could give yourself proof that you're serious. Not to somebody else. That's to prove it to yourself and to prove it to the egoic mind that, yo, man, I'm not playing with this thing. This is what I'm really on. So what do you mean by crystallizing the ashes? Also, what does spreading ashes in the water or burying them under a garden mean for them in the afterlife? Yeah, they took the ashes and they got them crystallized. They took the ashes and turned that shit into a crystal some type of way. Somebody know how to do that, and they did it. You know what I mean? They did that shit, and they got them around their neck. They got them around their neck. I don't know the science of that. That's not my chamber. Also, what does spreading ashes in the water or burying them under a garden? It don't mean nothing to them in the afterlife. It's just the fact that now they're not tethered to this dimension. I took my mother's ashes and I poured them out. I didn't even know. I'll give you guys a quick testimony because I gave this testimony before. But I poured out the ashes into the water. And the water that I poured it in happened to be the East Point River. And her grandfather, who actually a little more than a year ago, she had found his gravesite. He was a very prominent man at East Point. You know, they even got a historical thing about my great grandfather, you know, Papa Quilliam. He opened up the first Boy Scouts of America for so-called Black people in Georgia, right? He was also a steward for Maynard Jackson, who was the mayor of Atlanta. They even named the airport after him. And when they named the airport after him, that was a sim for my great grandfather to let me know that he'd been getting my libations because they renamed the airport. It used to be called Hartsfield. Then they called it Hartsfield Jackson. But he was raised up under the tutelage of my great grandfather. And when I went to pour those ashes out, we went up into Panola Mountain off Panola Road in Decatur, Georgia. And me and my sister was walking this path. And all of a sudden, this crane came out of nowhere. And when I tell y'all that this crane stood at least 11 feet tall, I mean, his wingspan was crazy. And he went and stood up on a rock and perched up on a rock and he looked at us. And when he looked at us, I was like, oh, shit. We looked at each other. And I said, that's the spot we need to go pour the ashes out. So we went to that spot. I did a little incantation and I poured the ashes out of my mother, right? At the moment I stopped pouring the ashes, it started raining heavy on us. And the crane took off out of nowhere. It appeared out of nowhere and it took off out of nowhere. That shit was so fucking mystical, right? But this is what I'm talking about as far as getting a definitive connection. It's not going to be speculative. It's not going to be a guesstimation. It's going to be a sign beyond a shadow of a doubt that your thoughts, your words, and your actions are reaching them, and they'll confirm it back to you, right? Yeah, the crane is related to the ibis, right? And like nobody can take that from me. And this is why I'm always advocating for people to venerate their dearly departed, make a connection to them. This is a real connection. Anything that is not that is speculative, you know, and most people operate at a speculative level because they haven't investigated who they are. This is why I tell you guys to start with the physical anatomy and start pulling back the layers of who you are physically until you get to that ectoplasmic level that unveils the light ether in your body. That is you, right? This is very essential. But let's go back over these points right here, right? Because y'all already know about the earth. And let's do the moon. See a lot right there in the moon, right? We see the two. That's Nun. That's dealing with the primordial abyss or the water. And you know that the water has an effect on the moon. Then we look at that 15. Y'all know who the 15th Neteru is. It's Offset. Told y'all that's the deitess of the moon. Remember that? She sits on a mighty throne. Then we look at the 9, and that represents Amunet. Amunet, the mysterious one. So it's a lot of mysteriousness involved with the moon, right? That's 2, 15, and 9. 2 plus 6, 1 plus 5 is 6, and 2 is 8. It's what? Plus 9 is 17. That's Neptet, right? Neptet. It's called what? Lady of the house. So when you talk about the menstrual cycle in women, it's relating right back to Neptet or Nephut, who's also the sister of Offset. They were the first ones. These were the first deities to birth children into this dimension. And they had a cyclic menstrual period that was missing, mysterious, right? The child rests inside the woman for what? 9 months. Y'all see this? All of this is in the moon. It's the diameter of the moon revealing the hidden codex of the Neteru. Y'all go ahead. Let me get a 9 in the comments section if y'all following that. You get a 9 in the comments section. Shouts out to everybody that's giving those. I don't know what that is, but thank you for the gift or the crowns or whatever. You know, just leave a heart or leave a 100 if y'all follow me. Okay. All right. Jonas got that. Mother Edenberg. I see y'all. All right. So the lady of the house, Neptet or Nethut, that's why she was the lady of the house. With Offset on the throne, right? Because of who her consort was, who was Osaru, right? So we see the 17. 2 plus 1 plus 5 is 8, plus 9 is 7. Then we could say 2 plus 15 is 17. That give you Nebuchadnezzar right there again. Then 17 plus 9 will give you what? 17 plus 9 equal 26. Y'all know that's Sekhmet. She deals with iron, right? She deals with iron. Iron is in the blood, the hemoglobin. When you get pregnant with child, they tell you that you got to take these iron tablets because you're going to lose a lot of blood when you're giving birth to a child, right? They talk about the blood moon. You know, heard that terminology before. All of this stuff is tied in to these deities. And I told you guys before about the moon magic. When you're doing the moon magic, that Osset is one of those deities of the moon. It's her, Tahuti, and Kansu, right? So this is the hidden codex of the Neteru, the hidden codex. And they don't want people to be aware of the Neteru. They go so far as to change the name of the Neteru. which is blasphemous in itself. How you gonna change their names? Right? So the primordial abyss, the mighty throne, is mysterious. The lady of the house is Sekhmet, right? Because it's her light. She is the ray, right? She is the plasmatic solar wind. Plasma is in relation to blood and to iron and the hemoglobin. All of those things are associated with one another. Now, we went over the earth the other day, but just for the sake of YouTube, we'll go over it again, and we'll look at the 23rd Neteru, who is Nefertum, right? Which is young Atum. See that? Then you got 56. That's Tahuti. Oh, wise. See how this is all falling in alignment with each other? Then you have He. And He represents infinity. I was telling a sister yesterday about infinity. She was trying to sound all deep and heavy and shit. And I was like, yo, that's still the physical universe, right? Physical universe operates on infinity. The spiritual universe operates on eternity, right? Those are two different stations within existence. You can only get so far on your own volition. You're going to need some type of teacher at some point in time. At some point in time, somebody like Dr. Ray going to have to pop up in your life and show you what time it is, right? So y'all follow that so far? The young Atum is born. That could be Haru. Once the young Atum is born, you become like Tahuti. And you start to apply the knowledge that you receive. Right? You start to gather a book like so, and you begin to journal. You begin to record your life until your death. And then your journal becomes the book of the dead, right? But you were coming forth by day through the ray of the sun, which we about to go into next, because that'll bring you into Amun, the hidden. And the 64th deity is Ani Hirit, the mediator, right? You see that? Dealing with the mediator between Amun and the earth, who is Sekhmet. You see that? So the mediator is in correlating in correct conjunction to Sekhmet, right? Which is the IRA. And if you guys came to the IRA seminar or to the webinar 1.0 or 2.0, you could tie all these symbolisms into Baruti, which I am a Baruti, right? I am a Baruti being. I am the character alterer. I can shift and transmutate personalities and personas of other beings, right? And I'm not alone. There's a whole bunch of beings on this planet that do this. One of them in particular that you may be aware of is Aries Spears, Godfrey, Eddie Murphy, right? These are co-medians, co-mediators. They stand in between, they transliterate the persona of other people, and they do it for entertainment and amusement, right? But in ancient times, it was meant as a riddle. to put forth a riddle to people before you were given access through the corridors of the knowledge that was being positioned in these particular temples and halls. So again, the moon, the earth, and the sun. Look at the diameter, right? Look at the size. Look at the distance of each one. And see, the earth and the sun, you got 864,000 miles in diameter of your sun. But it also goes between 864 to 865,000, right? So it's breathing in and out, and it's contracting another 1,000 miles when it goes to 865, and it gives off a solar wind or solar plasma or solar mass ejections come up out the sun. And once these solar mass ejections come out towards the sun, it gets sent to your planet, right? And the planet's electromagnetic field looks like a spider, right? That's in conjunction with Neith. That's in conjunction with Neith. So we'll take it a step further and we'll say 8 plus 6, right? Because we ain't even going to the 6 Neteru, but 8 plus 6 plus 4 will give you 18, right? That give you 18. Let's do this first. Let's look at the 6 and go ahead and give Kek an acknowledgement, because Kek is asking for acknowledgement here, right? That represents supreme darkness. So all of this is happening. These primordial events are happening in supreme darkness. And once it reaches this stage of the supreme darkness, it starts to come forth, right? And the mediator of that event is Anihirit, and Sekhmet comes on behalf of Re to Earth, right? Where through the lady of the house that sits on the mighty throne, births a young Atum, right? For 9 months, the mysterious, see the 9 on the moon, the 9 that's mysterious is hidden for 9 months inside the woman's womb. After those 9 months, the baby comes out and it acquires the wisdom from its mother that it acquired while it was inside the placenta. And this can go on for infinity. Also, 8 plus 6 plus 4 is, let me see where I got some room. 8 plus 6 plus 4 equal 18. That's Satuk. See that? Satuk, the shining one. You see that? And all this is correlating back to the brother asking about the moon. And does the moon, do we still receive the sun's light? You answered your own question, per usual. Right? But this is how the Neteru communicate with you, you guys. Right through the numbers. You can't lie through the numbers. And see, I pull this out. Y'all ain't never seen nobody pull this out before. Right? Nobody has shown people this before. Nobody even knew to go in this direction with the Neteru or the numbers. They had no clue. This is a preserve for a Baruti being. And that's my solar biology sign as a Baruti. And you won't see the Baruti pop up on the 99 Neteru, right? Baruti will not appear within the rankings of the Pantheon. This is a guardian, right? Guardian of the sun, the guardian of our moon, the guardian of the mysterious hidden knowledge and wisdom of the Happy Nile Valley, guardian of resting places. This is why I go into the afterlife, start breaking down things in conjunction with the afterlife, right? And you can use these methodologies to your advantage because it was put out here for you. This is you connecting to the elements, and we didn't even go through the elemental side of this, right? We didn't even go through the elements of it all. But I just wanted you guys to see the relevancy of what's relevant to your reality right now. This ain't got nothing to do with the past. This ain't got nothing to do about what's going to happen in the future. This is what's going on right now. And it's going to go on every day from now into infinity, like souls of mischief. Right? So take that into accountability, you guys. My future raynologists, right? Start to know these things and start to align yourself with the 99 net rule. But more important than aligning yourself with the 99 net rule is aligning yourself with your mothers and your fathers, their mothers and fathers, and 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 their mothers and fathers. Show some dedication and some devotion. Show some consistency. Show some reverence, right, to these beings, and do it consistently, right? Don't be spotty with it. You know, if you can get up and wash your ass every day, you could pour a libation every day. If you can get up and make your ass a breakfast every day, and you can get up and make them a plate every day. You pour yourself some coffee, pour them some coffee, right? If you could burn your money at the store on some bullshit, scratch offs, gas, right? Trees, liquor, these are all things that are exhaustible. Get them some ancestor money. Shift up the atmosphere in your environment. That's what the ancestor money does. It shifts the energy in your environment. And the hiccups that's encoded and watermarked into the money, that stuff stays prevalent in the home. And the more consistent you do, the more higher the probability of you changing the vibration in your environment, especially around the station of your altar. You know, that should be a specific place where you meditate, where you pray, where you reflect, where you sit in silence, right? Start depositing your energy into the target of your altar and watch how your life starts to miraculously alter or change, right? And as I told you guys before, I am about Rudy. I am the character alterer, right? That's not by coincidence. All of this stuff is by design. All of it is by design, and we will have clarity in this great day and time called New Tyrene. Anybody else? Any other questions? Got any questions out there? Let me go check my phone and look. I need to put a mirror up. All right. Any other questions? All right, I can hear somebody saying this. 17, 5, 10, 16, 20, 8, 6, 18, 15, 55. That's Atun, who was the unique one. See that? So when the sun is in Atun, when it has reached its peak, when it has got to its highest point, that's where you're most awakened in this realm. Even if you don't want to, your body is producing so much cortisol and serotonin during this time of the day. This is when you're most receptive and active to the outformation being emitted from your galactical core. Now, if you're in alignment with who you are spiritually, the spiritual aspects of you, then You will be highly sensitive to the transmissions that are being relayed from the oversoul into the psychic center, right? During this time of the day, right? And y'all know 5 plus 5 is 10. And 10 brings us back around again into Atum, the complete one, right? You see that? It's the Netaru talking to you, y'all, and making it abundantly clear for you to understand your connection to the sun, earth, and the moon. So y'all take that into accountability. And for the people that's going to see this in the replay, just know you need to come join our community. All you got to do is purchase a piece of OrgoniteTEK at 1089techvision.com and come join our community in the Google chat. Also, come and join us on the school app. I will put the link in the description. Click that link. Come join us over there as we go into the science of the Netaru. And don't forget to join us in March the 7th and the 8th. We will be conducting the 1089 seminar. This is a prerequisite of what raynology is and how you arrhythmically allocate the deities. And we ain't even got into the chemical elements and the biology of this, right? We haven't even, we're just scratching the surface at this rate. But there are more layers to this to pull back for you guys, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a picture of this and I'm going to post it into the school. And once I post it into the school app, I want you guys to put the chemical elements attached to all of these numbers of all these deities that's underlined, right? That'll be the homework. You know, giving you guys something to task yourself with. Anybody else got any questions? Any questions? All right, it's about to be 111, and we're going to end it on 111. And I'm going to let my phone charge up, and we're going to go over to the TikTok side, and we're going to give them something different. They're not going to get this. They're not going to get this, but we're going to open them up to something as well and get the people in alignment with this. Thank you guys for showing up to this YouTube live. I will come back again tomorrow at 11:11. I'm going to start doing YouTubes. I intend to do a YouTube every day at 11:11 and go over the science of the Netaru. This has been part 0 of the science of the Netaru in our lives. We'll end it off with the 99 Netaru. Abdul Kul Tafalat, Wabazun, Bibamu El Kalun. Who partner to that? Minu Nut Sheu Kawun Elabihu. Atun Ray, Noon, Nunet, He Het, Ket Kikek Amunet. Atum, Shu, Tepnut, Ged, Nut, Oset, Asaru, Nep, that Satuk, Haru, Happy, Anquid, Anti Nafratum. Mantu Bepti, Sekmet, Het Hard Best, Patar Bass, Am Hotep. Who, Me Hurt, Kepri, Meskahenit, Riot, Kentamintu. Hika, Neve, Mayat, Renintat, Shah, Sishat, Mafdat, Sobek, Anubu. Kanum, Kansu, Tanin. Sia, Hikat, Amsu, Sarapi. Atum Ray, Tahuti. Taret, Selket, Ha, Nehepka, Sokar Bait. Akir, Ani Hirit, Wab Wawit, Siket Hitet, Maresgir, See It, Get It, Astinu, Bahutit, Kanemtet, Minket Him, Badudi, Kabasinu, Duamutef, Merit Ura Ejunikebit, Siket Anuket Jet, Tim Uis Anku Affluent, Sati Sekti Imta, Ninna Imuet, Imseti, Kimamu, Ray Chef, Mary, Amon Ray. For the sake of all. Kawu. The dogs is barking. I don't know how to end the live.